Start off with a little ASMRs. It's me, Mars. What's up? If you're here, you're probably here because you know me from a different platform, but if you don't, my name is Mars. I live in Los Angeles, California. I'm an artist. I'm also transgender. And I don't normally post anything on YouTube, but I wanted to come on here, and just document my story, my life story, because I feel like there's not enough stories of trans people for trans people written by trans people out there. And you know, the only way for us to have more of these stories is for us to tell our story. So I hope that by me telling my story, I'll inspire others to do the same, and to share, you know, what it is to really be a trans person from a trans person's perspective, because that means so much. So much of the media that people see about trans people is not even written by trans people themselves. But yeah, I'll try and keep this fairly brief, but I'll start from my earliest memory, in all honesty. My earliest memory was when I was very young. I had to be a flower girl for a wedding, and we had to go pick out a dress. And I remember all the other girls were so excited to pick out their dress, and I didn't understand why. And I remember when I had to put on the dress, it felt like where the fabric touched my skin, like I was burning. And it was really hard, and I didn't have the language to understand really what that meant. And I kind of just lived with that and didn't think that much about it, because I was actually going to an elementary school that was really chill, and my parents let me dress however I wanted to, so I mainly just wore sweatpants and hoodies every single day, which was like very young androgynous vibes. Love that for me. And then in the third grade, I had to move to Joshua Tree, California, and it's a much smaller town, and the people are much less accepting. And before that, I had basically been living like a young boy would have. And so I moved. It was really hard. I got bullied a lot. I got beaten up almost every single day. The school administration didn't do anything. They would just walk away because they also agreed that I shouldn't be dressing that way. And it was really hard, and I remember one day I just couldn't take it anymore, and I got rid of all of the clothes that made me feel comfortable in my skin. And I went to Walmart and I bought some bell-bottom jeans and a Curious George pink t-shirt. And I remember feeling a sense of relief in a way, but also a sense like I had killed myself from the inside. Like I had killed the potential for me to live a real life as who I wanted to, but I had felt a relief in that I felt like I would no longer be being assaulted. And I would no longer, my presence would no longer offend people. And I think that's such a scary, damaging thing for a young person to have to believe and to have to do at such a young age. And I only bring this up because this is actually the reality for a lot of trans youth. And there's a couple of things that we can do to fix this. First of all, school administration, regardless of their personal beliefs, if they're seeing bullying and assault on school premise, they need to do something about it, regardless. Another thing that we can do is normalize kids being able to explore gender however they see fit. Clothes are not binary. None of this is a rules. Why can't we just let people and kids do what they want to do? It doesn't hurt any of us. So that's why I bring that story up. And so I wore women's clothes for a really long time. I was very feminine. I wore dresses almost every day. And then I went to junior high, and then I went to high school. And when I went to high school, I moved again to a different state completely. And it was in Missouri, so it was super religious. It was not what I had been used to experiencing. I was wondering maybe if I was a lesbian, and I was really having conflicting feelings about that. And I had kind of forgotten about those thoughts when I was young. Those memories of me being a boy were just too painful for me to think about. They made me remember that I could be that happy, and that I could never be that happy in this moment, so I just had to forget about it. And so I did, and I felt maybe like I was a lesbian, so I was conflicted by that, and I fell in love with my best friend, and it was really bad, and then I moved again. And then when I moved back to Joshua Tree, and then when I moved this time, I came out. I was like, okay, well, I'm bisexual is what I first came out as, and then that made me feel a little bit better. It made me feel like I was more in control of my life and in control of my story, and I was able to be more honest about who I was, but I knew it wasn't the full truth. I went to college in Arizona, and about my junior year of college, I joined an organization called the Associated Students for Women's Issues, but it was actually more of like just a gender equality organization. And that's where I first heard about being non-binary. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is me. Maybe I'm not fully transgender, but I do remember having some of these feelings, and maybe I could explore this just a little bit. And so I did, and I started to dress more androgynously. I got a binder, and I was starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with myself, and something really, really bad happened. It was homecoming. And at my college, during homecoming, everybody drinks in the daytime for some stupid reason. And I was walking around in the broad daylight, and some frat boys saw me, and they asked, what are you? And they pushed me. And then I ran away, and I'm very lucky. Nothing bad happened to me. That's what happened with that story. But it scared me a lot, and it made me not want to come out. It made me not want to do what I was doing, but I had already gone so far as to start dressing more androgynously, so I couldn't really go back, but I definitely didn't make any steps forward. I graduated from college, and I moved to California, and LA was like this big shining beacon of hope for me. And I knew that I could come here and I could contact the LGBT center and I could get on hormones, and so I did. And I got on a waiting list for surgery, and I was privileged and lucky enough to have insurance that covered all of this. And then I've been on testosterone for over 2 years. I've had top surgery over 2 years ago. I just felt so much better. And maybe you're asking, that's such a interesting switch that you went from, being non-binary, and then you moved to California, and it was all of a sudden. And I don't have a good explanation for why that happened, but I just knew, I think that my brain was trying to protect me, and it knew that I wasn't able to access those things at that time, and it was fighting so hard to keep me feeling safe, even though I wasn't where I needed to be. And then the minute that I subconsciously knew that I would have the opportunity to transition, like by moving to Los Angeles, my brain just gave up. It just gave up that filter, and it said, Mars, I can't keep fighting this fight anymore. This is who you are. This is how you've always been, and we need to do something about it. And just all my memories came flooding to me, and I started just having this subconscious need to watch a lot of trans media and find a lot of trans people online, and it made me feel so much better. And now I have a lot of trans friends, and I go to a lot of trans events and parties, and I feel so safe and accepted in my community, and I'm so thankful for everything that has happened to me. I'm so thankful for the LGBT Center for giving people access. When I first moved to LA, I lived with family, and then I left, and there was some instances in there where I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to afford my home and my food, and the LGBT Center worked with me. I also am so thankful for my insurance. I'm so thankful, and I'm privileged. I have to really acknowledge that I'm really privileged. My story, although it was extremely hard for me to get to where I am and to be so happy and proud of who I am, my story is so privileged and so much easier than a lot of the other stories of young trans kids. A lot of trans kids don't have supportive parents. A lot of trans kids don't have access to insurance. A lot of trans kids don't have the ability to explore their gender at all, even though I only did it for a little bit when I was younger. And so I just want to acknowledge all of these things, and I just want to put my story out there, because there's not enough real, authentic trans stories, and that's all this is. This is just real life. There's no beautiful, happy ending. I transitioned and now I'm just a regular dude. And I live in a small apartment in Los Angeles, and I just postmated 3 boxes of pizza because they were on sale. And then we just go from here, and that's just it. And I just want there to be more real, authentic trans stories out there. And so I'll end with that. If you've watched this long, thank you so much. I hope this helps you in some way. I hope this inspires you to tell your story, because we need more real narratives of trans people. I don't know if I'll be on YouTube again, but I am on Instagram and TikTok, so you can find me there. And thank you. And I'm sending you a lot of love and support. No, you are not alone in this. Okay. Bye.